Hey wrestling fans, it's Shawn from the Scumbags of Wrestling. Have you checked out our latest t-shirt design? It's inspired by our friends over at London Comic Con. Nigel Lewis of NCL Studios came up with this amazing design of a comic book cover. It features 22 stars of the Ontario independent wrestling scene, including Cody Deaner, Jody Threat, Casey Spinelli, Tyson Dux, Brent Banks, Tarek, Sebastian Suave, Halal Beefcake, graduates of the Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory, and many more. You can get your t-shirt for just $30 or buy the poster for $15. Proceeds from this sale are going to go to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto on behalf of Steven's wrestling journey. Steven is an 8-year-old fighting Chiari malformation, and they're searching for a cure. You can contact me either through our Facebook page, Scumbags of Wrestling, or email me at scumbagswrestling@gmail.com. Get yourself a great t-shirt with an amazing design and help a wonderful cause at the same time. So contact me today and get your shirt or poster.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Chris Maloney, episode number 25 of TNT, the Thursday Night Throwdown, coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada. Date is June 2nd, 2020, still in this god-awful year. Alongside Shawn Bates this week of the Scumbags of Wrestling. Shawn, how was date night for you?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I did some comments before your guest came on last week. But we still had an hour before our movie started, but it was a good evening. Some people didn't follow totally all the rules of staying in their car, but we did and enjoyed the movie.
All right, and just before we bring on Steven here, Shawn, you got a little bit of a special announcement going on, eh?
Yeah, well, this upcoming week, I believe it is Steven's birthday. Little guy up in GTA that we're raising the funds for these shirts for. And I want to just give him a shout out for his birthday. He's battling Curie malformation and a lot of appointments coming up. And he's just been so desperate to and wanting to see wrestling again, as most of us are, but especially him right now. And unfortunately that can't happen, but we want to give him a special happy birthday shout out and wish him a great day.
Yeah, Steven, second from me as well. As you can see there, hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey. You can check that out on Facebook as well as YouTube, I know for sure. Not sure if they're set up on Twitter or Instagram, but Facebook as well as YouTube for sure. Steven's Wrestling Journey with a hashtag in front of it. So that is the best way to get in touch with them. And happy birthday there, Steven. Going from one Steven to another Steven, we're bringing Mr. Steven O'Neil. Steven, what's going on up there in Toronto?
Nothing. Happy birthday, Steven. One Steven to another. Not much. It's a big day here in Toronto.
And Shawn has posted a comment. It's like last week all over again. Hello, Isabel. And that, I believe, is Steven's mom, correct?
No.
Oh.
Isabella Randall is watching. Got a notification that she's one of the students at the Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory because she might be tuning in with the links shared, but also our guests later on tonight.
Okay, so yeah, either way, hello, Isabel. But guys, it's been an interesting week, of course, as well. And Steven, I want to say thanks to you for doing the show last week. Pretty good show. Ratings or viewership was up there as well on Facebook. So Shawn, it's
shocking when you have a hateful person. Hey, I thought you were making a new theme song and making someone a host. Oh, wait, that didn't happen again.
Yeah, it didn't happen yet. Theme song will come. I'm going to figure out whether or not I'm going to go generic. So the theme that we do use for the show, man, guys, stop shaking your head. The theme song I use for the show, I don't get any kind of copyright strikes. I do get a notice saying I can't monetize the show, which is which is fine with me. But it's by a group called the Flatliners out of the Toronto area. Like I've been listening to them for probably the better part of 15 years now. I'm not sure if I ever got to see them at a concert, but I know somebody I know had interviewed them as part of another show I was doing, so it was kind of cool that way. But the fact is, I love their theme music. I love, you see them open and close this show. But whether or not we ever want to monetize off of this, I'll have to change the music up. So it's a way
for you.
No, we're not doing OK Blue Jays.
No, not yet.
Is it bad? It was bad enough Shawn had the slick music going on before the show while I was rocking the Kenny Omega stuff. But guys, we'll get into some topics here because the fact is in 25 minutes or so, we've got a special guest coming on this week. You will see him on this shirt someplace as well as, hey, Shawn, I got to give you props, eh? Just before we get to topic. See, that's the poster there. So that was the freebie for Shawn screwing up on my size there. But the poster turned out pretty well. You can get this frame for about, I think, $11. I had to go, I think, to Michael's, I think it was. But $11 for that frame. It fits the poster perfectly. It's poster turned out really, really well. So it's, if you're going to buy the T-shirt for $30, buy the poster for $15. And Steven went from Blue Jays to Boa. What's the Boa mean?
Bitch on arrival. It's RuPaul Canada Drag Race today that starts. It is a big day in Toronto. There's 6 queens from Toronto. And this is the one who we're rocking. Boa. Bitch on arrival.
All right. So we'll talk about this first. So happy belated Canada Day to everybody. Hopefully some people got to watch Fantasy Warfare Tournament taking place, the East Bracket that happened yesterday on YouTube officially, the premiere. So happy belated Canada Day for everybody out there. Happy 63rd birthday to this guy here. So Bret the Hitman Hart, 63rd birthday today. January 2nd, July the 2nd. Is always a great day because it's followed up by Canada Day, and then one of the greatest, of all time here in Canada. So that's that. Guys, I want to get into some New Japan first before we get into the heavy stuff. But New Japan Cup 2020 almost done. So 7 nights completed already. I'll go through this first. So night 8's taking place on the 3rd. So tomorrow, 6 a.m., of course. Dominion starts on the 11th, and then Dominion Night 2 starts on the 12th. So 2 shows there. As far as the brackets go, here it is, guys. And huge fan of New Japan. I don't get to watch it as much as I'd like to anymore. But as far as the semifinals go, you got Takahashi taking on Okada. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Okada moves on or whether or not Takahashi ends up fighting Naito in the finals. The other thing, probably the greatest match on this card anyways is Evil taking on Sonata. Will it finally be Sonata's chance to shine? So either way, 4 great guys taking place, to see who fights Naito for the double championship there. You guys follow New Japan at all besides what's online? Like, are you guys interested in the finals, who's fighting Naito? If you guys take a shot based on your New Japan knowledge right now, who's fighting Naito coming up?
Okada.
I don't get a chance to really see it. There's so much in North America to catch up on, and also while working and being married, good luck trying to combine all that in there. So yeah, I just follow along with some of the stuff that I hear with John Pollock and Wei Ting when they do their recaps before doing either review of Raw, Dynamite, whatever the show out there I'm listening to. But they usually break it down, and that's how I've been able to follow along.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that. But Shawn, I'd probably say you'd probably go with Okada as well, just based on your New Japan's experience. But like I said, the 11th and 12th will decide who takes that. The 11th, like I said, will be night 1. We'll see the finals of this tournament. And the 12th, which is night 2, you'll see the winner take on Naito. The other thing I want to mention about New Japan Pro Wrestling, so Lions Break Collision Episode 1's taking place. It's going to be a series taking place every Friday night, 10 p.m. on New Japan World. So 2 matches coming up this week. So Clark Connors taking on Alec Coughlin. And then, Shawn, you're familiar with this guy, Jeff Cobb, Rocky Romero, the tag team, taking on TJP and Carl Fredericks. Funny story about Jeff Cobb. We were actually eating pizza with the guy in Toronto. What was it, 2 summers ago or last summer?
2 summers ago.
We don't even know it, and acting like complete marks, sitting there YouTube and stuff as we're like basically almost like I think probably 5 feet away from the guy. And he
was finishing his pizza behind us, and we were at a bar table at Domino's.
Yeah, so we're just chilling before the event, and then so Jeff Cobb's story for you, but lots of stories that we could share on the show. Guys, all right, that's it for me and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I'm gonna start it this way. AEW 748, NXT 792, main event for AEW, Omega and Page taking on the Best Friends. NXT has Io Shirai taking on Sasha Banks, non-title match. Big notes about the two. So Fyter Fest 2021 had Brian Pillman Jr. in the crowd. It'll be interesting to see what happens there if they make anything of it. Could have just been that he was bored. Number 2, they got Jon Moxley taking on Brian Cage now at Fight for the Fallen. That's taking place in 2 weeks from yesterday, just because of COVID-19. So, they had given, I guess, Moxley the chance to be on that show next week. And Moxley was like, you know what? No, I'm going to play it safe. Great American Bash, night 1, is done and over with. So next event is night 2 taking place next week. The biggest thing about that, and I think Steven might have posted it today, was that spoiler. We're not going to release the spoiler. We're not going to say what it's about. You can check out the internet. You can check out my website, cwnonline.ca. Fact is, we were talking right before the show was on air, and the fact is maybe they had recorded 2 wins or 2 finishes, so to speak. They had done that with regards to it was a while ago, but it was Adam Cole North American Championship taking on Velveteen Dream. They had taped 2 finishes. Nobody knew what was going to take place, but they had to record. I think it might have been Christmas holidays, whatever the case may be. But Velveteen ended up going over, but nobody knew which finish they're going to go with. In this case, there is a big spoiler. Like I said, you can check it out online. But do you guys? Let me ask you this first. Do you guys think they've taped 2 finishes for this?
I'd be surprised if they did, but at the same time, it's possible.
All right, and so next thing I'll ask Brian Pillman Jr. What are we going to see? Is it AEW, or is it basically just the guy was down in Florida and bored?
I think he's coming for that TNT championship. You know how Cody said a few weeks ago that it doesn't matter where you're from. It only makes sense that they've got to bring someone in. I thought he was still under contract with MLW, but who knows anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure of his status with MLW either, but he's not a stranger to those guys anyways, because didn't he also appear on the All In card before AEW actually got formed? He was part of the Battle Royal or something like that.
Yeah.
So he does have a connection with them anyways. So contract or not, if he's able to, I see him being there. It's another name, and the upper mid card is going to be something to watch. If Pillman's in there, there was also a tease. I saw a video on Facebook yesterday of EC3 calling out a lot of people involving AEW, and also had a projection of the AEW logo on the wall to end his video. So if you throw in an EC3 along with MJF, Jungle Boy, and all those guys, and if they ever get something going with Spears, that upper mid card is going to be totally stacked.
Yeah, Spears did come out and say recently he's got about 2 to 3 years left in it, in him as a performer before he starts to become a full-time trainer. Guys, before Shawn shits all over the AEW product, because I'm curious about this, something else we were talking about before the show started. I loved AEW last night. I thought about trying to find a stream for Great American Bash, but I didn't. I was just keeping updated on Twitter and this and that. Women's match was great. Tag team match at the very end was great. The comedy skits in between. The Orange Cassidy thing I loved. Steven brushing his forehead already. So I was a fan of it. To start off with Sheeta versus I'm not doing good with names tonight.
It was a match to start with.
So Penelope Ford, the fact is it was a great match. The Kip Sabian spot at the end maybe shouldn't have happened, but it did. But the fact is that match was a great starting point for the show. It'll be interesting to see what they've got going on next week.
When did you tune in? At 8:30?
Yeah, you missed the match.
What did I
miss? Up with Jurassic Express.
Oh yeah. No, I watched it.
MJF. MJF had a great promo and an awesome robe.
Okay, yes.
Crapped on by everybody.
Now I remember.
I'm sorry. People are praising that as the best match of the night, but when unfortunately at this level, there's still timing and there's spots and not fluid. That's what's taking away from it. And I also said before we got on the air, there was like 3 tag team matches on that card. The referee might as well just stood in the corner and waited to do a pin, because all the different interferences, the breaking of the counts and stuff like that meant nothing, because they weren't even standing in there doing the 10 count. And Jimmy Corderas and everybody else is always about, why are you not following your own rules that you say you want to separate yourself from the rest of the pack with? Do it or don't talk about it.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is it the inexperience factor? Is it the fact that they can't perform like the NXT guys? They don't have the performance center. They didn't have the experience coming into AEW. So hence the fact somebody like Penelope Ford or even Jungle Boy getting better the way they are, but they're only wrestling once on a weekly basis. Do you think that has something to do with it? Take this into account. If it was a year from now, are these guys going to be better because they perform for a year longer, or do you think this is as great as it's going to get?
Not at all, because sorry, Steve, these guys got picked as being the best of the indies that were not swooped up by NXT. So these guys are working 3 to 4 days a week, depending on where they are, and traveling up and down. And you see the different weekends like WrestleMania where they're doing like 5 or 6 cards over 3 days. All right. So they got a lot of talent behind them. But now they're working for AEW where they work 1 day a week. They're diminishing instead of improving.
Steven, your chance to crap all over Kenny Omega if you want to right here.
I actually can't on that tag match. That tag match was the second best match of the night. I think the Cody Rhodes, Jake Hager match was the best match of the night. It was believable. It looked like an actual fight. The Kenny Omega Hangman Page match, a little spotty. I mean, Trent, you could tell, was looking around on some of those spots, but that was not a bad match. I can't shit on that match. Trust me, I want to in the worst kind of way. But if you look at the rest of that card, fuck. The Sheeta match versus Penelope Ford, you wouldn't see something that bad on a Smash show.
I will say that was Penelope Ford's best showing, but that spot with Kip Sabian coming back in, getting slapped, and tossing the kendo stick directly up in the air just looked like a cartoon.
It was bad. I've seen better women's matches on Smash, and it's just bad. It was MJF's promo was the start. It dipped, picked up with Cody and Jake Hager. Dumb finish when Hager punched them, and now I was reading storyline suspension for 10 days and a fine. Ooh, so he's not on next week's show. He wasn't going to be on next week's show probably anyways. And then the tag match, the ending, when Kenny Omega poured the beer out, you can actually see, and this I'm predicting it, it's going to be FTR, Hangman Page, and Shawn Spears as their version of the Horsemen.
That'd be interesting. But so who do you got on the other side? You get the Bucks, Kenny, and then Cody?
Yeah.
And then Dustin kind of just fits in the background, eh?
Dustin's not really going to be – he's not a full-time wrestler. You can now put him off with Jake Hager again. But you could – if you – like – you could see Kenny or the dissension between the two. I'm happy Best Friends didn't win the tag titles because I would have probably thrown my TV out the window. I don't think Private Party is going to win the tag team titles, but I could see an FTR Kenny Omega Hangman Page match. Page turns, sets up I could see Arn. I don't know if they would need Arn and Tully, but that's where I would go with your best. That sets up a War Games eventually.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. All right, cut this short. Guys, if you had your choice, what we know right now between Great American Bash next week and AEW Fyter Fest, what are you going to watch?
Great American Bash.
Yeah, especially with that main event, regardless of who ends up winning. You got the longest reigning NXT champion taking on the North American champion, and Keith Lee is a huge riser in NXT. So why wouldn't you want to watch that? What do they have really to counter? If you look at that card that Fyter Fest has left to show, are they going to put Jericho against Orange Cassidy against that main event? Are they going to put the 8-man tag against that main event? Because we know the tag team title match is just a filler because Moxley isn't there.
I assume it's going to be the 8-man tag, but if they're smart, they would just put fucking Dead Air against it because I don't think anything can, in that segment, I don't think anything's going to beat that anyways. It almost is a blessing disguise that they're going to have the world title match 2 weeks from yesterday. So it's not to compete against that match because I don't think anything could beat it.
Yeah.
Well, what is the NXT counter in 2 weeks now since the Moxley match has moved?
There's so many they can now. You have basically 2 weeks to plan.
Yeah, which is both good and bad for AEW right now. So just some quick thoughts, guys. I'll just run this down quickly. Have you guys had a chance to see Michael Elgin's YouTube statement today?
No.
Okay. Impact Wrestling Slammiversary has been updated. So tag team title match, the North taking on Ken Shamrock as well as Sami Callihan. Trey taking on Eddie Edwards, taking on Ace Austin, and then there's a fourth going to be a surprise member in that one.
Super Eric.
Could be. The Good Brothers, AEW or Impact, where are they going?
AEW.
Probably Impact because they also can work New Japan. They'll work out a deal.
Kevin Owens, did you guys see the Let's Try This on Twitter? His COVID statement with regards to his wife's mom-in-law.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was from the heart, and you could tell in Kevin Owens' eyes, him missing time from the WWE. Family's more important. Tessa Blanchard at this point, rumor is that WWE is interested. Are we going to see it happen, or is she going to go to AEW with her dad?
I don't think AEW, after everything, After rereading and listening to Tony Khan's statement about Hogan and Linda Hogan, I think that door's closed on AEW, honestly. I think it's either going to be WWE or I saw a rumor and I read it. It was MLW and AAA. But I don't think she's going to end up in AEW. And if you're Tessa Blanchard, don't go to fucking AEW. If you just watched the horse shit we just watched, why the fuck would you ever want to go face green grass?
See, you gotta love something about that. Steven's always honest on this show, no matter if you agree with him or not. Last thing I'll talk about as far as pro wrestling goes, Sting released a statement online saying who wants to take the quote-unquote last ride with Sting. Is he teasing the internet, or is this something that could be in the works for the next WrestleMania?
I think there's one last match.
I hope he's just teasing, to be honest, but we saw at the end of part 5 with the last ride, Taker's like, I have no interest in getting back in the ring. Well, doing another boneyard type match isn't getting back in the ring. And he also said that if Vince ever called him, he doesn't know he could say no. So
I think
never.
I really think it'd be a Sting versus someone else, not an Undertaker. But I could see, depending on how this COVID's going, Sting's last match at SummerSlam in a cinematic style match. Because you could film a version of the last ride, whatever you want to call it.
But who do you put him against?
Oh fuck! Pick and choose. Seth Rollins, AJ Styles.
Styles, okay. Probably the one name right there I'd probably be interested in would be AJ Styles. I'm
trying to think. Samoa Joe. You could pull potentially a Kurt Angle, and because if it's cinematic, you could you pick a name that's young. Adam Cole. You have if it's a SummerSlam, you have lots of time to build something up. A Bray Wyatt, I think, would be interesting.
All right, so we'll hold that thought in there. Quick MMA notes just before we get to our special guest tonight. So UFC Vegas 4 fight night, Dustin Poirier taking on Dan Hooker was one hell of a main event. If you were an MMA fan or not an MMA fan, there's Shawn. Check it out because that might, geez, I can't talk tonight. That may make you want to watch MMA. There. See, if I slow down, I'm a little bit better. UFC 251, Usman versus Burns, taking place next Saturday, July 11th from UFC Fight Island. Basically, Nigerian Nightmare is taking on Durano for the UFC welterweight title. Durano Burns is the number 1 contender. And Rory McDonald, Red King Rundown episode 1 now available on YouTube. He is Canadian, so he's one of the best. To me, probably top 3 as far as Canadians went in MMA. That behind George St. Pierre as well as Patrick Cote. So anyways, we will get to some indie wrestling in a bit, but right now I'm just going to set up to bring on our special guest here. So I'm going to shut down some of these screens and I'm going to drop the backdrop to something different here. So I will say this, he is on our shirts. He's also on this poster right here, but I'm going to do an official intro coming up.
Right
Sean's trying to point it out just a little bit better there. So, yeah, I'll do that next. All right, I'm going to do the official intro because I got some help with this one from this Godfather-like guy named Tyson Dux. So, he's a proud graduate of the Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory and in the minds of a lot of fans, a future world champion. And reaching out to Tyson Dux last night, he had this to say about our next guest. He's the big brother of the group, has a great head on his shoulders, intelligent and intense, and has devoted his life to the journey to become a top star in the business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the one and only Jim Stryder. Jim, you with us tonight?
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
Good. How you been?
Hey.
Good. I've been doing well. How are you guys been during all this crazy quarantine time?
Keep him busy and adding more shows.
I have to watch horseshit wrestling.
Don't mind Steven's mouth part during the interview. He's tends to say what he wants to. I see you kept the hair short.
Yeah, I did. I did the quarantine haircut myself. I shaved it right off. I was told I looked like a Eastern European bad guy from a spy movie, so it's growing back in now.
All right, so we'll get to the interview, but I got to ask this first.
Yeah.
What is with the nickname Yams?
Oh, Yams. There was just when we were at practice one day, Tyson just started saying Yams with a, like, because my name's James, he started saying Yams with a soft J, just Yams, and then that just kind of stuck, and everybody just kind of started calling me Yams. So yeah, we got all kinds of nicknames at the factory.
Nice. All right, so when and why did you become a pro wrestling fan?
When I was a kid, my dad was a big WWF at the time fan. So I'd watch guys like Roddy Piper and Bret Hart. Those were always his favorites. So I'd watch those guys with him growing up, and then we'd wrestle in the living room, and that kind of started my love affair with pro wrestling. And then I had a friend in public school who was a big fan too, so we'd always play like GameCube and all the old games, and we'd wrestle in the pools and stuff. We'd get kicked out of community pools for trying to do wrestling moves into them off the diving board and stuff. So that was kind of just always a constant thing for me. I told my mom when I was 12 I wanted to be a wrestler, and she said no, that's not going to happen. So here we are. Luckily my mom supports me now, so she's on board with it, so it's all good. It all worked out well.
So when and how did you officially decide to start training to become a pro wrestler? Like what made you just say, hey, that's it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to give it a shot?
It was always something I had wanted to do, and I just really didn't know the best steps to take to kind of get into it. There's a lot of people kind of saying, no, that's kind of stupid, you couldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, it's dangerous, blah, 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 all the things everybody hears when they say they're going to start training. It wasn't until Tyson opened his school right here in London, and it was kind of like this is a now or never type deal. You know, I can either do it or regret it, and I have never looked back since I first walked in there. I've never looked back.
No, it's true that his first place that he had his school was the Velodrome, wasn't it? Yeah, that was in the back of the old. They used to be the London Ice House, so it was an old hockey arena that they've now turned into a velodrome for cycling. But in the back there, we were in this little dirty back room. You had to almost go under a tunnel to get into the back, and it was an ice rink. So in the winter, it would just stay like freezing cold. So when you started sweating in the ring, it would just start to freeze to your body when you were waiting to get back in. And then in the summer, it was so hot, like you were just drenched in sweat by the time you were done. It was brutal, but that's the kind of stuff I love personally. I love that kind of stuff, and I really miss that place because it really there's a lot of people who came out to try it and they never came back just because it was too brutal. It was awesome. So you were one of his first students, if I'm correct about that, right?
Yep. Yes, I was.
So what are your impressions of the Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory from, I guess, the starting to what it's becoming now, and how many guys he's producing?
So when we started, I believe I was the fourth guy in the door. The other one was who's there was Jordan James, Chris Mitchells, and then another guy who kind of fell off near the beginning. And then we later got Alec Relm, Kyle Boone, and Violet Lee to join. But those first few days, Tyson was not softballing us. He was not easing us in. He's like, this is what it's going to take. This is what you're going to do. And either do it or don't. And he never discouraged anybody, but he also didn't accept any excuses either. Like I was coming in out of shape. I was an athlete in high school, and I had boxed and done some Muay Thai kickboxing, but I kind of fallen off of working out. And when I came in, it was like I was just getting off the couch. And so when I got into that ring and we were doing all the calisthenics, all the push-ups, all the squats, all the sit-ups, I was like, I'm going to die. This guy's going to kill me. But I was like, I'm not going to stop. I might just die, but I'm not going to stop. And I've always loved that kind of being pushed and being driven. And that was the atmosphere was he wasn't accepting second best. He was going to push you to be as good as you could be. And now we've had so many people join. It's been great. It's really grown into a good community of wrestlers and people who were like me, just always wanting to try it, but they were looking for a school that would give you the proper safe instruction. And that's the factory, hands down. He starts you off with the holds with actual wrestling, and then you grow from there as a wrestler. So
real question is this: did you ever have a day you felt like quitting? Like you just walked away from that place and like, that was it. This is too tough. This is, Tyson's not the guy I thought he was, whatever the case may be.
Oh, I didn't ever have any doubts about Tyson, because Tyson's as intense as he is in the ring, that's how he is at training. He brings that out of you, and he wants you to meet that. So that's what I love about him. But I did have days where I was laying in bed and I was so sore I couldn't even sit up, because your body has to callous to the bumps, especially your neck muscles. To control your neck while you're bumping takes quite a while to get used to. So there were days where I couldn't even sit my head up. I literally had to grab myself by the hair and sit myself up in bed. And there were times where I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I can't do this. Come on, be real. But all those little voices in the back of my head saying that weren't as strong as that passion and that love that I had for wrestling. So I just toughed it out, and it got easier and easier. My conditioning got better. I got stronger, and eventually I was excelling and having a great time doing it. I just had to shut out those negative voices and persist.
So how long did it take from you first become a student of the factory to your first match? What was it like going into that match, and how much did Tyson coach you to perform in that match?
I think it was about, if I'm not mistaken, 9 months in to training. Maybe even sooner, maybe like 7 months. I'm trying to remember. I'm a little fuzzy on time and dates, but yeah, we definitely felt the pressure, because it was our first show, kind of representing Tyson in the school and him as a coach of his own school. So the pressure was on, and we all knew it. And it was myself, Kyle Boone, Jordan James, and Alec Relman. We all were very aware of how important that was to Tyson, and we were all very aware that we had to excel and give it all in that ring, and there was no excuses for anything less. We worked really hard making sure we were ready. Luckily, just the advantage of training together, each other's movements, each other's timing. Which is huge in wrestling. So we have that advantage going in, where when we work with each other, a slight movement, exactly what that guy's meaning to do, because you've trained with him so much. So we really had that going for us going in, but there was a lot of pressure and the nerves, because it was at the London Music Hall, and that's a big crowd. This isn't, a Legion with 15 people. This was a big crowd, and we're standing back there kind of going, oh man, okay, yeah, it's time to go. You couldn't really, I didn't really have time to be nervous, because I was really focused on it. And when we did a pretty good job for our first match, I think, all working together. So
yeah, I think all of us were there for that one.
Yeah, that was insane for your guys' first match, when they said that was your guys' first match.
Thank you.
So for all the highs, there are the lows as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the Achilles tendon injury, how it happened back in October of last year?
Yeah, it didn't even happen in the ring. It was like one of those freak accident things, totally unrelated to wrestling. I was sprinting, and it snapped on me. I had injured it earlier, and I thought it was feeling a little off, but I thought I'd be okay. But I think I did a micro tear, caused a micro tear in it. And then when I was sprinting, I was really, really pushing the pace, trying to go as fast as I could. And the tension was just too great on it. And that's when it snapped. And luckily I had a friend there with me. And I just remember looking at him, and I just said, I think I just tore my Achilles. And he didn't believe me, because I was just standing there talking to him. I'm like, no, I can't walk right now. So it was pretty funny. He had to help me in my car. And luckily I was able to drive home and then get to the hospital where they diagnosed it. But yeah, that was not fun. I can say that much. It was definitely in the top 10 of painful injuries I've had in my lifetime.
So are you fully healed at this point?
Yes, I'm fully healed. I've been really focusing on strength wise. I'm getting back all my strength I lost. So doing squats, deadlifts, etc. That's coming back nicely. The biggest thing is stability, just the little muscles and ligaments in there, getting them in my ankle and my knee, on the weak leg, getting those all back to 100%. They're really good now. I can move fine. Training, working out full time again, no problems there. So now it's just little things and maintenance and making sure everything's 100% for when I can return.
Yeah, I think you were about 6 days literally away from stepping back in the ring against Tyson in St. Thomas, when all hell broke loose and the world shut down and Bizarro Land came to everybody.
Yeah, I was supposed to wrestle Kevin Bennett for the Smash title, and then I had another match against Tyson Dux. So those were, you can't get much better than that in terms of coming back and getting a match a series of matches lined up. So I was so excited, and things happen, setbacks happen, but I just try to maintain the positive mentality and look at all the positives. Just it gives me more time to come back bigger and stronger and meaner than before. So that's kind of how I look at it.
So with COVID taking place, what are you doing to keep busy and stay in shape?
So every day I go out to St. Thomas where Tyson lives. He's got a big garage out there full of weights, and I've been working out with Ethan Dukes every day. We've been lifting weights together. So Ethan Dukes is now in my circle. I guess you're allowed to have so many people. So it's Ethan and I go out there and we just lift weights, and it's been awesome. When this is over, Ethan and I are going to come back as a tag team and start taking tag team bookings and bring back some of that old in-your-face brainbuster style wrestling, just beating the crap out of guys. So
it's interesting considering you were going to be teaming actually with Tyson, and we saw you doing that tag team in St. Thomas against the Revolt, one of my favorite matches.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was Tyson and I did tag together, and we were talking about it. And then when the injury happened, that was just like the kind of a big setback, obviously taking me out for a while. So we continued as singles. And over the course of COVID, just talking to them and Ethan, I was thinking it would be great to tag with Ethan because we can make pretty much just go and make towns regardless of wherever, just go and wrestle anybody and just kind of showcase what we do in our style, that really old school, just in your face, just punching guys and grinding them down style. So that's kind of what we decided. So we're really excited to start that.
So with that being said, is it Kevin Bennett still on the horizon, or is it Hello Beefcake at this point?
I say why not both? I would love a crack at both Halal Beefcake and Kevin Bennett. So first on my list is Bennett. That's been a match that's been put off, I think, 2 or 3 times. And I want that match. I want that match so bad, and I'm not going to give up on that one.
You have that contract from the What's in the Box match.
Yeah, I'm still technically the number 1 contender for the Smash belt. So I'm not letting that go.
All right. So outside of Smash, what are your thoughts on Ontario independent wrestling as a whole right now? I mean, outside of COVID, obviously.
Mm-hmm. The thing about Ontario is I just feel like we don't get enough recognition. Some of the talent we have here is so good, and the fact that there's sometimes just not a big enough platform for some of them to be featured on, and it's so hard to get into the States for some of these guys. It's almost a crime. I think the most underrated guy in Ontario is Tyler Turva. I love wrestling Turva. He's got a great look. He knows how to wrestle, and that's a guy who I'm waiting for somebody to call him, because that should happen. And especially like guys like Tarek, like, oh man, I love wrestling Tarek too. Like that's a hard hitting, just a great match. Like I just love that kind of intensity he brings. So Ontario's strong, and I think we're only going to get stronger because we have a big crop of young guys coming up that I think are really going to take that brass ring and make an impact on the global stage, not just in Ontario.
So do you guys have any further questions before I do some name association?
Well, I think I can speak for all of us. We're waiting for you to get that call, because I know from the moment we saw you guys at the London Music Hall, you stood out as a future world champ. The size, the technical ability. I buy a ticket because I know I'm going to get a good match. I'm not going to get horseshit comedy, which I love.
Oh, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. That's the kind of wrestling I love and loved growing up, and what I want. I hope people associate with me. So thank you.
Yeah, I guess what people also don't seem to realize, as much as we've given props sent to Chris from Tyson, you're almost Tyson's right-hand man. When Tyson's not there, you're there helping and running the drills and doing all the boot camp calisthenics, and
yeah,
you got so hard. And you were even doing it with your foot in a cast, and that's amazing.
Yeah, no excuses. I didn't want to, just stand around in a cast and look lazy. So I figured I could at least just grin and bear it and, get in there with everybody. And I love that kind of stuff. So I just had a lot of fun doing that. The pain goes away,
I got one more question. Why the lariat as your finisher?
I threw that in class one day, and I almost killed somebody, and Tyson said, "That's your finisher."
Perfect. That's
Stan Hansen.
That's perfect answer.
Yeah.
No, very good. Yep, for some name association.
Sure.
So one word or one sentence just to describe the names I'm going to give you here.
Okay.
First one on the list, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Greatest of all time.
Followed up by his cousin, Rowdy Piper.
One of my heroes.
All right. Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory as a whole.
My home. I love it there. It's my happy place.
All right. How about Ethan Dukes?
Brother. He's like a brother, man. He's such a good guy. I love Ethan.
All right. Smash Wrestling owner, Sebastian Schwab.
Great guy. Love Seb so much.
All right. Remix of Professional Wrestling, Kevin Bennett.
Super talented, super underrated. Big things are coming for him.
All right. We'll go to the Wave Maker, Kyle Boone.
Kyle's like my little brother. We love each other, but my God, can we drive each other crazy?
All right. How about the Revolt, Alec Realm, and Fireball, Jordan James?
Really solid, great guys, solid wrestlers.
All right. Smash Wrestling as a whole.
My favorite.
All right. Second last name on the list, Tyson Dukes.
Oh man, that's tough. He's the boss. He's the boss.
Well, it's funny because Cody Deaner called him old, I think. We're asking him.
Yeah. That's their relationship. It's like me and Boone, where they just want to get one over on each other.
All right. And last name on the list, future superstar, Jim Stryder.
Trying. In progress.
All right. Very good. Guys, any follow-up questions that you want to ask for Jim?
Oh, I was there for that What's in the Box match. How did that come about, and how did that get laid out for you? Like, that's got to be an insane sort of situation that Mike had a hand in.
Yeah, that was madness. I showed up. Sebastian asked me to show up. I showed up. I said, "What am I doing?" He said, "Michael, explain it all." And I went, "Okay." So Mike laid out the match, kind of what his vision of it was, and we all kind of put in our 2 cents on what we thought we should be doing. And Mike is a creative genius. His style of wrestling. I'm not a huge comedy wrestling guy, but I enjoy Mike because it's so creative and so just what it comes out of left field. You're almost not expecting what the stuff that happens. And he's just a genius. Like, he puts so much thought and time, and he cares so much. That was interesting. I was like, this is either going to be good or just fall apart in seconds. But I looked around, and, we had John Greed and, obviously Mike and Brad's a really sharp guy, and the Muscle too. The Muscle's not a sharp guy, but I love him. But I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. We're gonna work. These guys will hold up their end, and as long as I hold up mine, we'll be all good. So I think it came off well, and I had fun doing it. Those kind of matches, they're fun. Would I rather just a hard-nosed one-on-one? Yes, but that opportunity to work with somebody like Mike is pretty fun and pretty special.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising to see you in that match, considering all the people that were in there. But the revealing of the box and trading a chain for a contract, that was awesome for me because, with you being local and hanging out at the factory and doing everything there, I'm like, I know that guy, and he's got the #1 contendership. So
yeah,
it's cool to see you earn that.
Yeah, that was wild. They told me right before I went out that was happening. I'm like, is that like a real thing or is that a joke? And they're like, no, that's a real thing. And I'm like, okay, cool. So that was pretty awesome.
So we got a Facebook question here from Aaron Sisson. What is yours and Ethan's tag team name? Do you guys have one yet?
We do have one where we'll make some announcements when the time is right, and we'll make an official announcement.
Aaron's trying to book you ahead of time for Chem Valley, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it.
I need to ask you one more question. If you had a dream opponent, anybody just Ontario independent wrestling based, who would it be?
Dream opponent. I'm trying to think who besides Tyson, obviously. I've never wrestled Brent Banks one-on-one. I've been in tag matches against him. I've been in 6-man crazy stuff with him, but I've never had just a singles match with Brent, and he's such a terrific athlete. That's a guy I'd love to get in there with.
That'd be interesting because you have hard-hitting style of yours taking on Brent Banks and just that dynamic, high-flying aerial, assault that he brings. So it'd definitely be interesting. So Smash, Chem Valley, book that. I'd be paying to see that as soon as COVID lifts here in Ontario. Jim, it's been a pleasure. People can reach you, I know, on Twitter at Real Jim Stryder, Instagram as well at Real Jim Stryder, and then obviously Dux Factory on Twitter as far as getting in touch with Tyson. Any place else fans can reach you? Are you on Facebook or anything like that?
I'm not on Facebook yet. I'm kind of just rebranding everything, especially coming out of this. I'm going to have kind of a new gear, new merchandise, all that kind of good stuff's coming up. So I'm going to be putting that all up as soon as it's ready.
Very good. And what about Pro Wrestling Tees? Are you on there yet, or is maybe sometime in the future?
That's hopefully something in the future I can get on Pro Wrestling Tees.
All right, very good. Guys, any further questions for Jim?
No, thinking good. Sporting Tyson's Hammerlock.
I'm rocking the Hammerlock apparel, hammerlockapparel.com. It's super comfy, great for working out. I've been living in it for the last few weeks, so get yours now before they sell out.
Very good. I know Tyson had some great words about you, and like I said, as fans, like we were 100% supportive. Can't wait to see you with one of those championships, whether it be Smash Wrestling or the pro scene, whatever the case may be. But it's been a pleasure, honor having you on the show. Anytime you want to come back, we'll have you on, and I can't wait to see you in the ring again.
And he's immortalized on the T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm on the T-shirt there. Thank you for everything you guys do for our community too. It means a lot to all of us, I know. So thanks, guys. I'm sure I'll be back.
All right, have a good night, Jim.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.
So that was Jim Stryder. Again, Twitter as well as Instagram at Real Jim Stryder, and then Tyson Dux Wrestling Factory on Twitter at Dux Factory. So a pleasure to have him on. Shawn, I know you've touched base with him time and time again as far as the factory went, and your own stuff that you used to be doing on YouTube before the whole freaking COVID thing shut pretty much everything down.
I'm out of here, guys.
Yeah, Steven, have fun. Steven is out of here as well.
There's drag racing to check out.
Yeah, so even though COVID's taking place, there is some stuff going on still in Toronto, but they're in that picture in the background there. And I wish I could show it, put it off the screen for a sec, but that is Jim Stryder taking on Tyler Turva at the London Music Hall. It was a great, hard-hitting match. I think, Shawn, I don't think you were at this one. I think you had plans in Windsor or something like that.
Yeah, but maybe it's a rare one that I missed, but yeah, two London guys going at it.
Yeah, so they were going at it. And the funny part about that match was the comedy spots where all of a sudden Tyler was all about his hair, and then Jim started being all about his hair and this and that. So he can play the comedy, but if he needs to. But he is one of those guys, gifted guys, that hard-hitting, old-school wrestler. And as Tyson put it best, and Tyson's doing it now probably for the past couple of months as far as, no flips, no fists, much the same way as FTR, where all of a sudden it's kind of like just go back to old school wrestling, you know what I mean? And that's one of the things that Tyson will do day in and day out. And he's, I'll ask you this, have you seen Ethan Dux lately and how much weight he's lost?
I've seen a couple of pictures of him, and I've been posting some of the videos when Tyson does some moves and holds and breaking them down, and Ethan is looking amazing, especially considering what I first met him at. And Tyson even posted a picture of Ethan when he first got to the factory compared to what he is today, and it's night and day, and he is advanced so much. I know I've said it so many times and to different people, but I wouldn't have known that he was Tyson's son to begin with. And after seeing him the first time, I was just like, but then I took a couple months off of being at the factory, went back, and he was still there. And that's when I found out that he was Tyson's son, and I saw how much he had improved. I was like, wow. And now we've seen him in the ring. I think Tyson said he had maybe about 30 matches under his belt before COVID ended up hitting. And if he's going to be teaming with Stryder, that is going to be one force of a team, because I know one time he was possibly going to be teaming with Frankie War, and Tyson tried having them look at teams like Demolition to compare themselves to and learn from. So I don't know what teams Tyson's recommending Ethan and Jim to watch, but yeah, there's always so much wrestling to look back on in history, and Tyson loves the fundamentals. Like anytime he gets to step in that ring and do chain wrestling, I'm just in awe of it. And even when he gets some of the girls in there, like Violet or Miss Becky and Isabella, he's like a cat with a mouse and just playing around with it and having the biggest smile on his face because he loves to chain wrestle. And I think that's one thing that wrestling has gotten away from is the fundamentals and grounding, that you're seeing too much high flying and desensitized to it. And if people were to step back to step forward, the business could improve.
Yeah, I know. I think first match I ever got to see Tyson when I started following indie wrestling again was at Fanshawe, and he was champ, and he went on with Sebastian Suave, and I was like, man, I miss this guy. And then I think one of the best matches I got to see him against was Jay White, who is now with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, but again, he can put on matches with Carter Mason. I'd love to see him go against Jim Stryder. I think that'd be phenomenal as well. Just before we do some sign-offs and some plugs, I'm just going to touch base on Canadian independent wrestling because it is slowly coming back. So CWE, Canadian Wrestling's Elite, taking place July 10th, Rookie Sports Bar in Winnipeg, Manitoba. RCW is starting, and you heard this from Mike Maloney last week with regards to Friday night shows. So he's got RCW Friday Night Fights taking place July 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, 31st, August 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th at the Royal Canadian Legion No. 1 in Calgary. And then RCW Saturday Night Fights taking place Royal Canadian Legion Norwood Branch 178 Edmonton, Alberta, July 4th, 18th, 25th, August 1st, 15th, 22nd, 29th. So a ton of shows taking place. Obviously, social distancing taking place because they're the Legion, so the maximum capacity. I'm not sure what it is in Alberta, but I do believe Winnipeg, I think, is 100 fans. I think that's what it tops at. And then Monster Pro Wrestling, the return, August 8th, 2020, so it is a ways away. Alberta Avenue Community Hall in Edmonton, Alberta. I know there was talks here in Ontario as far as Stage 3 maybe finally getting to that point of hitting. I watched Doug Ford today on press conference, and there wasn't much to anything at all, except for the fact they're handing over more money to people who needed it. But do you think we're close to Stage 3? I mean, do you think it's a matter of time before Midwestern and Smash, even Chem Valley, have a chance to run? And in saying that, I'm going to ask you just one-on-one here, Shawn. Is it one of those things that they're going to run, or are they not going to run until they can do into London Music Hall, or they can do like Franklin Horner or whatever the case may be?
I think to be profitable, they have to wait till they can run the better venues and make it worthwhile. Because if not, they might have to jack up prices or have limited cards where instead of your 7 matches, you're getting 4 matches because of they don't want to overprice themselves, but they have to still pay the bills and get things done. So there's so many things to look at. My wife and I went just for our drive yesterday on Canada Day, just to see if there was a beach to sit on and take in some fresh air. And each beach we went to, Port Burwell, Port Bruce, and the quiet side of Port Stanley, were all with people on top of each other. Now, if we don't find out that there's an outbreak, we're damn lucky here in Ontario, because I also saw on the news this afternoon or this evening before coming on with you that 35 states in the United States are having huge outbreaks, and California is reverting back to shutting everything down. So we've already heard what happened in Florida with WWE. Texas got the huge amount, and no matter what Trump says about, if you don't get tested, you don't know about it, or it will die out on its own. People have to do the right thing so we can get to those next stage 3, 4, and totally out of it. But we also need a vaccine. So I don't know if you can safely put on an indie show with 100 people, whether they have to wear masks or not. That's great for everybody to be able to perform and get some life back.
Yeah, I'm mixed because I do miss independent wrestling, but the fact is, it's never going to be the way it was, at least not anytime soon. So what do? Do you chance it? I don't know if I'd be I know it's probably going to become the norm, but the fact is, it's going to be weird going to an independent show and being 6 feet apart from somebody. You know what I mean? Not elbow to elbow. So it's a wait and see. And I'm going to try to find some footage of some of the events taking place out there in Alberta as well as Winnipeg, just to see what they're doing and how it's going over there. But anyways, I'm going to put you on the spot twice over here because you missed last week's show. So number one is this here. Fantasy Warfare Tournament, hashtag FW. See, I got to slow down. FWT on TNT. We're getting set for Greatest World Champions West bracket taking place next week. Let me ask you this. How do you think the tournament's been going? Are you excited? It's coming to a close next week, live on this show, by the way. So it'll be an interesting TNT next Thursday. But you'll see the West bracket take place on the Wednesday. Final four take place on the Thursday. What are your thoughts on it overall? I mean, do you think we're going to do anything further as far as maybe another group of 64?
Yeah, well, yesterday's show was interesting where we were doing a lot of heel turns, as Jonesy put it there, because at one time you'd see Steven and I teamed up, or Jonesy and I, just the way it ended up going. And, to be honest, I had my sort of picks right from the start, so, it just worked out the way it has. We now have the 3 of the final 4 being Jericho, Flair, and Austin. This Wednesday's final 16 is going to be a tough one. You pointed out the match that The Rock is going in is against Okada.
The Rock's taking on fucking Okada.
Yeah.
Like 2 of my favorites in the world. How do I pick between them?
So that in itself, you can tell what our decisions are going to come down to. It's going to be a tough one just to see who makes it to that final 4 spot to be decided next week on this show. So, yeah, it's been interesting. I know we did also talk about taking a little bit of a break from doing a massive one like we just did a month long. So there's going to be like Greatest Big Man, just a separate standalone show, and we might throw in another one before we possibly do 64 tag teams. So that's just a hint of what we've been talking about. And there was banter today about what 64 teams would be considered, and we're picking from all over the world and different eras and stuff like that. So there's still some decisions to be made on that one. But yeah, if you've enjoyed the first 3 weeks of the Greatest World Champions, tune in next week, and then we'll find out the top one that comes out of it.
Yeah, so in Shawn saying that, so we have done Ontario Independent Wrestling Tag Teams. I think that was the first one we did. We did Greatest 80s Tag Teams, but this is World Tag Team Champions as far as the tag teams go. So 64, the greatest in the history. And it's funny because I was kind of like, wait, man, can we actually come up with 64? And then it's like, all of a sudden I saw you guys. I had to shut off my phone at one point because you guys kept going back and forth and all these names and teams like I completely forgot existed, like the Rock and Stock Connection. They were tag team champs, you know what I mean? But I think one of the things we had decided on, it has to be one incarnation of that guy. So you can't have a Dude Love, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, all in the same tournament. It has to be one version of the guy. So if The Rock held the titles with, say, I don't think he held it with Austin. He held it with Triple H, didn't he?
He held it with Austin as well.
He did hold it with Austin.
But, there's that example, or even with the comedy version, there's the Minnesota Wrecking Crew that Jonesy thought about putting in, but Stephen Norrie has kind of mentioned the Brainbusters. So it's Arn Anderson twice, unless you find a incarnation of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew that works without Arn Anderson involved.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night, actually. 2 nights ago, I guess, when we were talking about the Midnight Express and how many different variations there were of them. But yeah, it is interesting because it's interesting when we first start, we hit that record button, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is where the show is going, And most times it's me battling Steven, but all of a sudden, I'm loving the interaction between Jones and Steven lately as well. So we go from one thing that we're doing to Shawn's baby that he's doing. That's Scumbags of Wrestling. We are Scumbags as a hashtag. Facebook.com/groups/Scumbags of Wrestling. I cannot talk tonight. Shawn, what's going on there? Any other plans as far as something else beyond just the podcast?
I would like to be able to figure something out. I'm off next week, so I might be able to finally put some pen to paper and figure out some things that I want to do. Right now, it's doing episode number 112 for this weekend coming up. Unfortunately, with everything shut down, I'm not able to do the Ontario Indy road trip because there's no calendar dates to announce, and there's no trip to the factory right now because that's even shut down, with the exception of Stryder heading over to the Duke's household and checking out stuff there. But that's not a public facility for me to go to and do more shows. So we have Fantasy Warfare Tournament, this show, and Scumbags Wrestling that I'm working on. So I'm hoping for something Scumbags more show to do. But we're also doing the t-shirts, as you saw at the beginning of the show. I pointed out a bunch of times. You're wearing it. I'm wearing it. Steven has it. The poster you have right beside you. $30 for the shirts, $15 for the posters. Aaron has ordered one. I'm just waiting for it to come in so I can send it off to Sarnia or personally drop it off. It's going to Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto for Curie malformation in honor of Steven's wrestling journey. So get your shirts and posters. Shiloh and Kyle Boone already have theirs, and a lot of others have theirs. Also, Michael Grayson has his. So
I tell you this on a personal level, and I am married, by the way. But you want to get somebody to sell a shirt, give one to Shiloh.
Yes.
Her Instagram kind of blew up that night when she made that post, but all in good fun. And
thankfully, nobody like Sebastian Suave, Tyson, or Kyle have tried to replicate.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that. Anyways, how's the second shirt going? Is it still in the process or still in progress or what?
It's only a thought process right now. I'm selling these ones first and waiting for us to get back on the road before I do the second one. But there is the idea already in my head of talent that has not made it on this. They did make it on this shirt to do like a Heroes and Monsters or something on that line with the other talent in Ontario that has not been covered.
Yeah, this one is great, but I think you've created a monster because people, and as soon as these shows start back up, people are going to be seeing this shirt and be like, oh, how'd you get that? Where'd you get that? And it's start with the business cards again. You'd be like, you want a shirt? Here's the email address.
I have 5,000 business cards or something like that, just waiting to be picked up.
Damn, it's a lot of business cards. A true story is, so a couple of years ago we were down in Windsor, and Shawn and his brother-in-law, I saw them handing out business cards at the end of an Impact show, and you probably went through a couple hundred that night, eh?
Yeah, I think I went through a good box. My brother-in-law was beside me with the poster as I'm just handing out cards and trying to welcome people to Scumbags Wrestling. We are at 460, I think, almost fans, part of the group. I'm trying to get us to 500, definitely by the end of the year. Wouldn't mind if we got there by fall, but if we're able to get back to arena shows or legions, wherever, I can see us being able to expand to the 500.
Okay, so here's a contest / quest for people. You can, I'm sure, because the group, one of the groups I have on Facebook, I can see when people join up, and I can see the date they join up. So say for example you're at 462, you can see who that 463 is, right? So yeah. I tell you this. Anybody who signs up to the Scumbags of Wrestling Facebook group, and you can see it on the screen here, so groups/Scumbags of Wrestling, anywhere from when Shawn checks that number, if it's 462 or whatever the case may be, all the way through to 500, okay? Here's the deal. Shawn, take their name down, put it in a list, put it in a notepad, whatever the case may be. All enter into a draw. Shawn will do a random draw once he hits 500, and I will buy somebody one of these. Okay, so that's live on air here. Just all you got to do, go on Facebook, hit that like button as far as the group goes. Shawn will keep track of who's who. And once he hits that magic number 500, he'll do a draw. I'll send him over $30 for the t-shirt. He'll get your information, send it to you that way.
And you get a poster.
And you get a poster. Guys, just be sure that you make sure that you give him your size, and then maybe send it over about 5 or 6 times to make sure he gives you the proper size. But yeah, the poster did turn out really, really well. So Shawn, if one more thing, if you want to keep busy, there is this thing called cwnonline.ca. It's called a website.
Yeah.
I know you have a website.
I have one. I have not put it. I have to refresh mine. It's just trying to figure out what to put on it and keeping it fresh. And unfortunately, I'm more quicker at doing things like Facebook than going into a website and changing things around.
Yeah, see, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm sitting here, and if say there's like a box, and all of a sudden it's doing advertisements up on my head, I can't figure out how to do that crap yet. So when you're doing that, your infomercial for the t-shirt at the beginning of the show, I'm like, how the hell is it? That I haven't figured out yet. I'm still getting better at the video thing, but
I got a lovely app on here.
Yeah, so I got an iPhone. I haven't figured it out enough. But yeah, guys, check out my website, cwnonline.ca. One of the things I will announce on this show is I am looking for contributors. So anybody who wants to write about a wrestling business as a whole, Ontario Independent Wrestling, Canadian Independent Wrestling, if you watch Monday Night Raw religiously, you want to do a review, hit me up. So Chris at cwnonline.ca, and the contact information is there on cwnonline.ca. So Shawn, I'm going to let you close the show. I'm just going to put this back up here again. So hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey. It is a great cause. And like Shawn had said, all the money from the t-shirts going towards, Steven there. Huge wrestling fan. It kind of broke my heart reading about the fact that it broke his heart because of the whole COVID and wrestling not happening and this and that. But Shawn, you just want to share that story one more time just before we sign off?
Yeah, his birthday is coming up, and so we're doing a shout out. Wrestling fans, if they were at Impact Wrestling at the Rebel in Toronto, would have seen him part of a Tyson Dux Joe Hendry match. He's been at ringside for a lot of shows in GTA, and huge wrestling fan, and can smack talk with the best of them. And just want to wish him a happy birthday on behalf of Scumbags of Wrestling, TNT, and everybody that's involved with this show.
All right, very good. And guys, on that note, we will see everybody next week. Haven't completely figured out the format yet for the Final Four. Whether or not we're going to do the whole show as Final Four, we'll have to wait and see and discuss that with everybody. But if there's any major news, we'll have to announce that. But it just depends on. I can't see. I don't know how long the Final Four is going to end up taking. So that's going to be the thing there. But guys, thanks for watching Scumbags of Wrestling, TNT Thursday Night Throwdown, CWN Online, and of course hashtag Steven's Wrestling Journey. So until next week, check out Greatest World Champions West Bracket on YouTube, and then the show again back on Facebook as well as Twitch. So until next week, thanks Shawn, thanks Steven, thanks Jim Stryder for the interview, and we'll see everybody next week.
Have a good